In a world where every category feels crowded, building a brand that cuts through is about more than having a great product. It's about creating a feeling. This episode explores what it means to build a modern brand that transcends function and brings value to people's lives. Ben Costa, founder of Oat Cult, has done just that by disrupting the breakfast category by injecting creative storytelling, design, and emotion into something every day. Today, we'll unpack Ben's approach to brand building with Oat Cult and discuss the role of humour, entertainment, and world-building in cutting through the noise. Hope we did that justice for you there,
Yeah,
Ben.
thank you very much.
Thank you for coming on.
It's always nice to hear it said back.
Yeah.
More profound than I would ever say.
Tell us a little bit of the journey so far with Oat Cult, why you started it, how it came about, and how it's been going.
I was in advertising and I was meeting loads of brand owners and getting frustrated with how clients do stuff. And I arrogantly thought that I could do it better than them.
Great way to start.
Yeah. So sorry to everyone watching, but I just thought, I can do better. And I decided to try and create my own brand, really. I was looking at interesting spaces. So I think it's not that classic story of like, oh, I always made like batch made cheese at home, and then I grew watercress, and I thought, oh, I didn't have that. I was just like, what would be an interesting space to like basically fuck it up. And I looked at, I sort of thought oats was an interesting area. The work has been done to convince people to, that oats are good for you. You're not trying to sell it to people, but the category's boring as shit. So I just thought, there's an opportunity here to do something that looks different. It can basically zig where everyone's doing something else. And so I thought, fuck it, I could let's make something disruptive in that space.
And what's the journey been like from to this point? Packaging, getting the brand out there. What have been some of the biggest challenges?
I thought it'd take me 3 months to get something live, and it would be like really easy. And it took me 16 months. It is really complicated and extremely challenging. And I think the thing I'd always sort of taught myself was I wouldn't do the brand bit first. I would do like all the kind of perfunctory, boring shit, really, like the numbers, the finances, making sure the business was like viable. And so kind of built it on a spreadsheet, and then you're kind of working to a really strict margin of what you can operate on, like you would on any P&L. I mean, this is really boring stuff, but I did all the boring stuff basically. And that took a long time, like making sure the product's food safe, making sure like people aren't going to die when they eat it. And then as we were sort of working on that journey, we were like, oh, oats is really interesting. Overnight oats was an interesting space. I was like, okay, well, that's like kind of like a bit more, there's a bit more to the product. And then we thought, oh, wouldn't it be cool to add cultures? Because we found that people were adding kefir to that overnight oats. And I was like, oh, that's kind of interesting. So we ended up adding live culture to the product, which is ambient. So you kind of add milk and leave it overnight. So kind of solving a problem for people that want to make overnight oats, buy like a big bag of chia seeds, big bag of flax seeds, like go, right, I'm going to be an overnight oats person.
We've all been there. I've definitely tried it.
And you try it, and then you end up spending,
do it for a week.
You end up spending 100 quid on all the bits, because it's not cheap, but ultimately it will save you money in the long run because you're going to batch make it, and then you make it once and then you never make it again.
It's so true.
So that was kind of that. So we're a convenience product, so you kind of, it's all there for you, and you just empty it in a jar and add the milk.
And you said you don't have a brand book per se, but the brand feels very considered.
Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about that world that you've kind of started building around Oat Cult, and it's obviously got like a very specific direction and very entertainment led. So a little bit, where was the inspiration from that? And
it kind of evolved. I think it's slightly unfair because I've spent most of my career in advertising. So like building brands is kind of what I've done every day. So a lot of it's intuitive, but ultimately we knew like we wanted to make communication that would like shock people, be a bit aggy, poke fun, but the kind of cues of the brand itself, like the actual packaging and like the look, is kind of that kind of old British kind of folk kind of tradition is kind of what we were interested in, which imbues a kind of feeling of like, or rural, like back to the grain, kind of like back to the fields, like all of that stuff. But then it's also like slightly creepy gothic font and
a little bit of sacrifice
and a bit, and then that's kind of and it's kind of evolved. It's been iterative. It hasn't been like we didn't write it all down and go, cool, that's the brand world. we kind of, it just has evolved as we've gone, and things have like felt intuitively right. They're the things that we then kind of doubled down on. And yeah, we found that creating really entertaining content has been the thing that kind of helps cut through. And so therefore you just, and I'm a firm believer in that anyway, so you just double down on that really. And then you just got to behave like, basically we try and think like, what would PepsiCo, who own Quaker, what would they do? We'll do something they'll never do. So they won't have an oat like milking itself into a bowl. Like not yet. Or they won't have, like, we made a film when we launched where we spent most of our budget on basically a man about to be sacrificed, and then they're like taken by these like kind of Wicker Man inspired like masks and stuff, and they take him to a field and they're like going to kill him, and then it says overnight oats without the sacrifice.
Yeah, it's so good.
And so that kind of, when we released that had like 100,000 hits in like 3 days, and so that kind of just set the brand going. So
yeah. And what tips would you give that content piece, because you guys do create some amazing stuff and it's all very funny and entertainment led? Is there ways you do that on a budget in terms of what you've created so far? Like, was there any tips for people of how you'd create that kind of content and keep that ball rolling?
It's quite hard, like, to keep making stuff and thinking of stuff, especially when you're running a business and there's all the other nonsense that you're dealing with, like customers, like boxes not arriving, or fulfillment problems, or like ordering new stock, or so I have a lot of sympathy for people trying to do stuff, and I think naturally people then fall back to, well, what's everyone else doing, I'll just do that. And the challenge is, when you do that, then you just look like everyone else, and so then you're kind of not, it's not really worth kind of doing.
I completely agree, and I think we see that a lot as well, where brands will just be confused and they don't know who they are, and then they just end up looking at their competitors. But I think that's where, especially with the stuff that you guys put out and what you put out, it's so clear on your identity, so it's almost then like, okay, well, what are those next stories that you're going to be telling? But then how do you approach that? So going back to it, so like, what is next for like Oat Cult in terms of that story and how it develops out?
I think the thing that honestly, it's like it's really hard because I'm a creative by trade, and so you're making stuff, and it's like you can't blame the client because you are the client. So you can't say, oh, this one was really good, but they ruined it, or they made it a bit. And so you have to basically just have to do stuff and just see what happens. I think a lot of it is not overthinking it. I think it's really easy to become extremely analytical, but ultimately I've always like made work, and the work that we've done is like assume that no one gives a shit, and so therefore that's kind of the guide. The start is no one cares about your brand, so therefore no one gives a shit. And then you have to follow 3 principles really, and they're the ones that I follow, which is simple, like a simple message, simply said. Distinctiveness, so making sure that it stands out and people will notice it, because otherwise you're going to spend your money and no one's going to see it. And then relevance, like making sure what you're doing is right for the audience that you're talking to. And we've built up an audience of people that like our stupid shit, really. And so therefore they're quite happy to see more. And there's enough of a sort of, if I was looking at sort of Venn or something, there's enough people that like stupid shit still that we can talk to. And so, it's like irreverence, it's fun. But honestly, we're just not overthinking it too much. It's like...
But that's a superpower for you guys, isn't it? The ability to just do things off the cuff that a small brand can do.
Yeah.
And I guess the trap that bigger brands probably fall into is they overthink it. Everything needs to be planned. They need to have validation from their audience instead of just taking a risk and creating.
Yeah.
And that's what you guys are doing.
And it's really hard because it's like it's our own money now. It's like, this is a business that we've built. And it's like the easiest thing to do is default back to what everyone else does, but you have to remind yourself why you kind of created it in the first place.
How do you do that? How do you stop yourself from not becoming complacent, but like making sure that you have got that edge that you've kind of built the whole brand around?
Good question. I honestly I don't fully, like, it's just conviction of like what we're doing is right, it's worked so far, so let's just carry on. I think it's like we've made stuff that doesn't work or people don't like it, and we are going to make mistakes. And like you say, as the exposure gets bigger, that risk level's bigger, and the more visibility you have, the more like suddenly there's more people to offend, I guess. But ultimately, we're not here to please. We will not please everybody, and I'm kind of really comfortable with that being our position. Like, we're not going to be a brand that everyone will like, but therefore we will also be, on the flip side, a brand that lots of people love. And that's kind of the guiding, like the sort of, you're better off having a point of view. And so we have a strong point of view, which is like, we are an overnight oats brand. We don't really, like, let's relax a little bit. Like, it's really not like, we're not changing the world. So if you're offended by an oat milking itself, then just scroll to the next video and don't worry about it too much, because someone wrote on that video, said, I don't like the idea of this oat like wanking into my cereal. And then I responded saying, they're milking themselves. You've been wanking wrong.
So good.
So I think it's like just.
But I think it's even that, right? It's like, that's your personality coming through the brand. And I think that's another thing, is brands, especially social media, need to have a personality, right? They need to talk in a way that feels human. They need to create content that feels entertainment led. So like, is that, again, going back to what makes Oat Cult special, do you feel that's a big factor, is that you have that personality? Your personality is coming through the brand in a very clear way, in a sense. It's obviously very humour led, very entertainment led. Is that something you've considered, or is it just happened?
I think if you make a brand that you're going to work on, like, I had a few ideas for different, like, you're going to make one that you want to write for. And I say that to other founders as well, is like, they should make a brand that feels like them, because it's so much easier to execute against a brand that's sort of a bit more them, than trying to be someone they're not, because then you're constantly like, you're having to reference, like you say, other audiences or other people, whereas I'm kind of just making stuff I'd like, which is probably a terrible way of doing it.
But it feels authentic, right? And that's, again, it's an overused word, but authenticity is such an important thing, and people feel that. And I think you've said that you have the community you have around Oat Cult is quite tight knit. People are saying, I want merch and things like that. They're buying into it as a brand, probably because it feels authentic, right?
I think it's like we're just messing about. It's like a breakfast cereal brand. Like, it's what it should be, really. It's just something you eat, and it doesn't need to be too serious, and we don't need to overthink it. But yeah, entertaining. Just try and stop people scrolling, make people want to watch, make it like, we don't need to sell the product ultimately. Like, if you want to buy overnight oats and you remember us, you'll buy it. But I don't think showing you someone eating overnight oats is going to make you want to buy it more.
And do you feel like you've got quite a clear idea? You talked about it before with your community and like people that are buying Oat Cult. Do you have a clear idea of like who they are and like what their vibe is?
So I email loads of people
regularly,
and do little type form surveys and things, and just ask them questions, and like, hey, like, thanks for, I saw that you bought, like, you're on your like 10th box, like, who are you? Like, why are you buying this product? And nuts, it's like a crazy mix of people. There isn't necessarily a type, so it's not like what did like Crazy Dina, who's between 30 and 40, who likes, like, we don't have those audience. They're all just a random mix of people, and they all buy it for very different reasons, which makes it challenging when you're like, for long term, trying to grow a brand at the moment. But I think ultimately that's because of probably the life cycle of where we are at the moment. The people that we appeal to are, they're probably already interested in overnight oats. They've tried to make it themselves, and so majority of people like kind of want to commit to that. So they're already semi-invested in that space. I think the challenge for us will be, as we grow, is then you're talking to people that don't know what overnight oats are, and I think that's going to be a different communication challenge, I think. But for now, we don't really need to educate people. It's like the fastest growing food trend on TikTok is overnight oats, like searches. So people are like interested in the space. So we're able to just be fun and irreverent. And to answer your question about the audience, no clue still. It's like a 50-50 mix of genders. It's like ranges from families to like solo people to couples, and it's like a broad church at the moment. But
it's interesting, isn't it? It's like you guys are like almost like the little secret, or just like a little bit of space where people can like buy something quite disruptive, like first thing in the morning. It's like their little disruption at 7 a.m.
Yeah, I think people. Well, the truth is the product's really good. So it's like, and I would say that obviously, but it's like we've spent a long time making sure what we sell is good. One of the things that someone said to me recently was they were really surprised at how, like when they tried the product, how good it was, and that how undersold it was. They assumed that because the creative was so, like, I don't want to use the word wacky, but wacky and odd, that it would taste like feet. Like it wouldn't taste good.
That's interesting. It's like a nice tension point.
They kind of felt like, well, you're doing it this kind of, you have to do this kind of irreverent thing because the product's a bit shit.
Kind of faddy in a way.
Yeah, and so, but then they said, oh my God, I like tried it. And I was like, fuck, this is really nice. And his like wife was like smashing through, and like he was like, I love it. This is amazing. We kind of undersell it almost a little bit in terms of.
So it's like a nice surprise almost.
I think so. Yeah. It's like we've got that. I think again, it's like at the moment we have that freedom.
Reviews and like word of mouth of.
We only sell word of mouth. Like we don't put any paid for at all at the moment. We've done none.
Yeah.
I think we've spent like $1,000 once, but that's it. So it's all just organic at the moment. There will come a time when we need to do that, and then that will be an interesting experiment. But for now, it's all just word of mouth. Almost all. Whenever I survey people and ask them how they buy the product, it's word of mouth. Yeah, which is great.
Yeah. And in terms of that, like the world you've built around Oat Cult, do you think that when you have that approach as a brand, it's then easier to partner with culture? So you see like Liquid Death, for example, they did like really cool partnerships with like Yeti, where they did the coffin, Ice Bucket. They did a partnership with Elf, which was like Elf Beauty, where they did like a makeup around Halloween or whatever it was, and those always go viral. Do you think that what you've built around Oat Cult and the way that the content and the entertainment-led content around it is easy then to like partner into other areas of culture? Have you thought about that in terms of partnerships?
Yeah, I mean, we've
how you would...
been madly, like we've been approached by like massive brands to do stuff with, which is a really interesting thing. We haven't been like approached by like outside of brands, I think. I think we're still very much in that space. Like the people that buy the product, like I was well aware the people who buy the product are kind of media wankers. And like us, and like they're the kind of people that
sold into a story.
So there's enough growth. Like a lot of our subscribers are ad agencies, and we sell a lot to those. So I knew that was a good audience sector to tick off. But so therefore we have a lot of big brands kind of approach us for collabs and stuff, which is great. We haven't done any of those yet, but we've got some next year. So that'll be an interesting experiment to see how our brand works with others. But like I say, we don't have really strict rules on things. I think one of the co-founders is like the designer of the brand. So therefore he's like militant on that stuff in terms of how it looks and expressed visually. Like there's a lot of rules that he has in his own brain. But I think that will be an exercise, will be how you start to write that down, I think. And as you grow and more people join the cult, how you then manage that. At the moment we don't need to, because it's us. That'll be I'm not looking forward to that, when you sort of hand over your baby to someone else and they're doing stuff, you're like, what's that? That's not us.
But do you feel as a brand, like now a modern brand that's just starting out, do you feel you have to do that to grow? You have to partner with culture, you have to be tapping into these pockets that kind of complement the space that you sit in, essentially?
Yeah, I think so. Like we're talking to running brands and like sport brands and like running clubs and interesting, like, I think so, because otherwise you need to find a way of people getting to notice you. Meta introducing subscriptions, and there's all kinds of new challenges around performance marketing and what that is. So it's certainly not the entire strategy can't be let's just make some ads and then people click on it and then buy the product. And also like long term, like what that end-to-end experience is like, how when you receive the product, how's the brand expressed there, like on the back of pack. Like we've just changed the back of packaging on the new run with like little like funny line that like when you rip it off, and just like where can we add little details and flourishes to kind of bring it to life. Because I saw the product downstairs that said to you didn't know it was there, and then you kind of see it out of you see it not with all your you don't see it with the brown world around it. So that's how people are going to experience it. They don't know like the funny videos, so they're going to just look at it as a pack. So you need those kind of partnerships or those kind of places in culture, and because it helps root the brand and people can understand what you stand for and what you believe in without having to tell everyone.
It is those nuances, isn't it? It's those little small details that people remember. And I think going in from like a startup brand as well, because we see it from whether it's drinks brands or beauty brands or fashion, is that when you all look the same and you haven't got those little small defining features that actually help set you apart, it's like you just mold into everything. Yeah, I think carving out those space and just really, I think, deepen it almost. It's like, actually, what is it that's going to help us stand out? Exactly as you say, language or design or the little touches around packaging. That's like super like important, I think.
Well, I mean, even the shape of our pack, like it's a different shape. Like most brands put them in pots, and I was thinking, oh, who eats porridge on the go, like walking? I was like really thinking. I was like, what? I'm not really sure. Like maybe for camping, like.
Yeah.
But I was like, every supermarket you've got them in the pots. I was like, but most people have bowls at home, and actually just want a convenient way of carrying it. So I think it's that kind of cookie cutter thing of like, well, everyone else is putting it in pots, so we should put it in pots. But then you're like, but no one's actually questioning who the fuck is eating. I've never seen anyone on the bus eating porridge ever.
It'd be a bit weird.
It'd be a bit weird. But I've seen people in the office eating it.
Yeah.
But then they've got bowls.
Yeah.
Or I've seen people eating it at home. I don't know. Just a weird thing.
Obviously, you're a disruptor in the categories. So there's probably so many categories to disrupt in that sense that people have just been doing a certain thing because everyone else is doing it, and no one's actually looked and said, is that actually beneficial for the end consumer or not? And there's probably a lot of innovation in lots of different categories around that.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's what people should be doing, and the same for culture. Like, like we just sponsored a horror night, which is like loads of new filmmakers sharing shorts on horror films, and they were like, "Oh, will you sponsor this?" I was like, "Yeah, this is cool." But an overnight oat brand sponsoring horror night, it's just like shouldn't happen. But people then understand where the brand wants to be. Like, we want to help like creative people make interesting creative things. So of course we'll sponsor it and put some money. And I think thinking of where you can play, and it doesn't always have to be, and it can be a slightly, as long as it feels right for you and the brand, it can be in interesting spaces. It doesn't have to be a mum's morning or whatever.
It's the unexpectedness that cuts through, really, because as you said, like, what's going to stop people on their scrolling, doom scrolling, whatever it might be? It's like, oh, that's actually quite different. And I think that's missed a lot of the time. It's that lens of like, am I really pushing or thinking about this daily or monthly? We talk about it all the time, which is like brand strategy is like done during a planning phase, and then it doesn't get picked up again maybe until the following year or even 2 years sometimes. It's an always on thing. Yeah, it should be anyway.
It should be iterative. You should constantly be changing, and also be willing to adapt and change, because you go, oh, well, actually, maybe let's course correct and let's do this instead.
Yeah.
But like that horror night thing, it's like on paper it seems nuts, but then when I was looking at who was tagging us in all the stories, they were like exec producers at Netflix and like all really great people that are now wandering around with a tote bag and loads of product to
amazing.
try.
Very cool.
And so I think it's like that. I think that stuff is kind of interesting. You can't. It's necessarily tangible, but I think you should be brave and just try stuff, especially when you're smaller.
But that's also possible because of the world you've built around it. Going back to that, because the kind of that kind of angle with the horror and stuff like that then allows you to do something that is very, very different, but it makes sense, right?
Yes, you can't just go and like do something like sponsor clowns or something, and then you've never done that before, and you're like, we're gonna like sponsor a circus. You're an anal, you're like a hemorrhoid cream. I don't really understand how that's gonna work, but you can't do that, obviously. But at some point you're gonna have to start.
And going back to, you mentioned like the meta subscription, and I think that is the way the world is moving.
You told me that,
There you go. And that is the way the world's moving. Is people are basically going off social media in general, and they're also looking for more premium experiences, which is less ads, more content that's actually entertaining them. So, like, from your perspective, what is the future of like how brands connect with consumers? Where this world is, there's probably going to be more AI. There's going to be more content that you don't know if it's real or not. Blah 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 blah. Like, how do you feel brands can evolve to really be of more value to people and actually turn up in spaces where they're actually going to be received in a positive way rather than a nuisance?
Yeah, massive question. Don't know if I know the answer. I guess my point of view is I've purely taken the strategy of like, we're just going to be fun and entertaining.
Yeah.
Like, we're not going to be too deep and meaningful. It's just not right for us. We're not going to try and like talk at you like we're your mate. We're just going to do funny shit, like a bit like me in school or whatever. Just try and be like the class clown, or try and like be entertaining. And ultimately, that's kind of what our strategy is, I think. And I'm sure there's probably a better and more profound and interesting way of engaging consumers. But when you're so time poor and you're just busy, it's like, just make fun stuff and that people will watch.
Yeah.
Like, I'm so slammed doing all the other boring stuff of the business. For us, it's just like, let's just be fun. And then, like I say, then you're front of mind. Then there's a reason to like visit us on Instagram or whatever, or because you're like, oh, they do cool stuff. They're not just trying to, we're overtly selling stuff to you. Like, we want you to buy our oats.
Yeah.
But we just do it in a silly, fun way. And I'm a bit of a purist in that kind of form of advertising. Of like, quite liked when ads were just like good ads and they were just fun. And you're like, oh, that was clever. People, I've always found that people respond quite well in terms of that kind of communication. Oh, that's that was really clever how they tried to sell me that.
Yeah.
But they've done it overtly. They're not like, it's not sneaky. I don't like this kind of like sneaky, like, oh, hey, let's all hang out. And then if we all buy this product, we can all like, I don't know, it's just a bit like, it feels a bit like snaky.
Yeah.
I just like,
and forced as well.
Yeah, force and try hard and just fucking, we're at Oats brand. We want you to buy our oats. Yeah. Obviously.
It's the emotion within that sort of stuff, though, isn't it? It's like you guys have doubled down into like the humour, and almost like the shock element of it. And I think that's what's getting people to think. Yeah, I think that's the thing that's always sometimes missing within advertising. It's also cookie cutter. It's that it's not encouraging you to actually think about anything new or have some sort of feeling behind what you're seeing, and that's always quite cool. I mean, it's quite interesting. Like, at the moment, it's all around like the creative and all the rest of it in terms of like the stories you're telling. Do you see this then turning into maybe obviously like creators, right, or like influencers is like a massive thing? Have you thought about that?
I think it's a challenge because obviously the sort of standard thing you do when you're a brand and you're starting is this kind of founder content stuff. Yeah, you kind of you build that kind of connection with the audience by like showing how you're like grafting and trying to build it. But I'm like a balding father of two, right? I'm not that, like, I live in like South East London in like a house, and I'm like, I've got turned up with toothpaste on my coat. It's not like, I don't know if that's like the kind of like cool founder story that people necessarily want. So I would say that that's a huge part of like growing a brand, and I respect everyone. We just can't do that because it's just not who we are. Like, I'm just not that person. So when you're asking like founder, I think it's something we really struggle with. Like, what do we do? How do we engage? Like, when we first started, we sent loads of packs off, and we did that. Hi, I'm whatever, and I'm gonna eat some oats, and like, oh, this. I was just like, oh, I hate this. This is rubbish. This is boring. We're just turned into everyone else, and so I don't know is the answer to what do we do with influencers. I've got some ideas, but really like everything we've done since then has been like. It's just organic. So people like, I didn't even know she was on like Love Island or something. She was like, hey, can I get some oats and another thing? And you always get these requests. I was like, no, fuck off. And she's like, oh, she just went and bought some, and then she made some content, and I just like, I fucking love it. That's so cool. A lot of the time, like, we haven't really engaged with them yet. We probably need to, but yeah, I don't know. How do you do a sacrifice thing, and then you've got an influencer, and I don't know at the moment. It's just like
sacrifice.
Maybe sacrifice some.
Go down the digital route. Create your own one.
Yeah, maybe like an AI.
Like an AI influencer. Yeah. Even like like the what's that, little Michaela? Do you see her? She was like the big one within fashion. She's like an AI influencer, but obviously like grown, and she can mold whatever what you want to do with her.
I think that's the challenge. Is like a lot of the content we make like does really well, like shared, but doesn't do well in like views and stuff necessarily always. So it's like it is very tempting just to make that stuff, but also it just feels so wrong to do that content for us. So I would say it's like the quickest way to grow the brand would be to make that kind of content. Yeah. But I think long term it will just probably not work for us.
Interesting.
But I think you've got a very strong compass for what feels right for you and for the brand, which I think that is in itself a really key thing, isn't it? Is that doing something that is going to be received well, that feels right for you.
Yeah.
And not, that's when I think people can see straight through that on social media.
Well, that's what I mean. I was like, for us, I'd rather go and sponsor a night somewhere or whatever and hand out loads of stuff, and then they might share it, which they did, than maybe pay someone to make a kind of video of them like doing Pilates and then making some Oat Cult at the end.
Yeah.
I just I'm not really sure that anyone wants that particularly, and I'm sure it would do really well short term, but it's that kind of like, it's that sort of dopamine hit. You get a quick fix and you probably get a little bit of sales, but long term, what's that actually doing for the brand? Are we then just becoming everyone else?
Obviously it's Oat Cult, a cult, so that kind of community piece, the cult-like community, is that an angle of you've thought about that intentionally? Of, because I think brands are trying to create cults, right? They don't want consumers, they want fans, and that is an angle that brands.
Do you want the honest answer, or do you want the
give me whatever
the honest answer was like, we were like, oh, really fun to do like cool cult film, like films around cults, actual cults, like, so we called it Oat Cult. And then someone said to us afterwards, like, oh, like oat as in cultures, like the cultures you put in the product. And I was like, shit, hadn't even occurred to me.
That's exactly what
I was like, that's inspired. I was like, that's genius. So, like, obviously now I go around saying, oh yeah, oat as in oats and cultures. But no. And so then to answer it, was it an idea of that we're going to build a cult of fan base and thing?
It just happened organically.
No. And
I appreciate the honesty.
Yeah, and I'm also, I'm just not.
Accident.
I'm also not like. I do think the brands that have like cult followings tends to be the founders like quite cool, and like people want to hang out and like be in their club. I'm a bit of a nerd, and like I'm not that. I don't know. I'm not sure. I've never been the guy that everyone wants in their team. You know, do you know what I mean? Like they'll talk to me a bit, but you know, I'm not a leader of like cool cultural icon.
Don't do yourself a disservice, mate.
I think you are.
I'm being honest.
And then I guess to wrap it up, where do you get your creative inspiration from?
My brain's wired a bit funny. It's a lot of film and TV. Like when you grow up, everyone kind of references the kind of, and the kind of stuff I loved as a kid, like Mighty Boosh, or just weird, like irreverent, funny, interesting, like comedy stuff. And then like I'm not particularly like I'm a bit of a scared person. I'm not massively fan of horror films. Yet we've ended up doing loads of kind of horror kind of style. The answer to the question, I don't know, just like you just take it from things you like, right? Culture and things that you see and films you watch, but it's not just me. There's like there's other people within Oat Cult, and then there's like other contributors, and we're really keen to partner with like the directors who made our ad. They obsessed by Wicker Man, and like so a lot of like it's giving people creative freedom to play with our brand too. I'm not doing it all. There's like there's people that come in, and then it's like, as a creative person, I've always known like, okay, well, you let rip. And I think you always get the best from people when you just let them.
Yeah, I think that's interesting though, because it's about letting specialists come in and interpret it in their own way, but then also they have to understand exactly what the brand stands for. And I think that's sometimes missing, even with other brands, right, where the right people aren't in the room in order to actually like deliver and execute on a creative idea.
But it's also trust. Like we've all been there where you have something and then it just gets whittled down, and then eventually people sort of stop caring a little bit, even though they kind of trying to deliver nicely. And I think if you can get to in the first place where the purest form of the idea, and it might not be fully right, but kind of know it will evolve eventually, that's for me like really powerful, because then you get people giving the creative freedom to properly express stuff, and that's where you'll get the best work from those partners. If you sit and fiddle and like micromanage and like to every single like detail, and you're like obsessing about you need to trust people to do what they do, otherwise just do it yourself. And that's kind of like the principle of why as I said when we first, why did you do it, I got pissed off with clients telling me like, I was like, I'm trying to make this good for you. The only reason I'm doing this is because I want it to be good. And if you trust people that that's what they're trying to do, and you can help guide it, you go, look, it needs to make sure it does this. But if you trust the partners to deliver, I think you get more back from people.
Absolutely. But brands also like, they just get so caught up in how they should look, how they should talk. 90%, well not 90%, but a lot of it doesn't really matter. People just want to connect with something, want to feel something, want to be entertained. They're not looking at the details of where that logo is placed and things like that. And do you think, brands probably do get caught
I
up
think
too
so.
much in it?
I've always asked clients when I was advertising side just to watch it once and let me know what you think. Like that's the first reaction, because in a minute we're going to go and be analysing the kerning of this, whatever, but just the first time, just tell me how you feel when you see it, because that's like how everyone else is going to watch it. And no one else is going to watch it 73 times in bed and not showing their partners going, oh, do you like this? Do you like this? This is not going to happen. No one else gives a shit. And so, and that's what I kind of do when I see stuff. I watch it and go, oh, that bit jarred. Oh, I didn't, that bit I thought was a bit off. And then that's it. That would be my feedback on stuff.
If only all clients like that, that'd be.
Well, that's kind of what I think they should be. And I think in a time where people are making AI slop and like people are making things that look all the same, trust people to, you're paying them, trust them to deliver something and go, I want it to feel different. I want it to be distinctive. I want it to stand out. And then don't be shocked if what you get back, or the ideas you get back, or the strategic positioning you get back, or the work you get back is different, because that's what you've asked for. If it's something you could have thought of yourself, then why have you paid everyone to do it? If you just want the affirmation, I think there should be like an agency where you can just pay someone just to come and tell you what a great idea you've just had. It'd be a really good business model.
You probably would, yeah.
Just to say like, oh, love it. And you're like, oh yeah? And you're like, yeah, it's brilliant.
Positive studio.
Yeah, just like, we'll do anything you want. It's like a network agency.
There you go.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one, isn't it? I reckon we were talking about it before. I think like the future or the next generation of like CMO will have a bit more of that personality and that bravery within them, where they understand that there needs to be that space to experiment and play with the rules a little bit. But I think we're not far away, because obviously like culture now is like the big topic that brands are like, right, we need to do stuff in culture, whatever it might be. But I think it's that next step of having creative freedom, and that also like just like the respect for that and the need for it.
It is when you can type it into a machine and it can come up with pretty amazing ideas. So you're going to need the brain, the human brains, to be thinking differently.
Well, it's taste and discernment, isn't it? When you can have a million different options and choices, it's what should we do and why should we do this one out of a million potential avenues. That's what's going to become a skill,
and I think so. I'm excited. Like, genuinely, I feel really excited about like the freedom that it will give people.
Yeah, same. I think it's
just in case the robot overlords are watching.
And then just finally, next year, what's coming up?
So
what's the next steps for you? For Oat Cult?
We're fundraising at the moment, which is like the first real time. We raised like a few quid from like mother-in-laws and people. So we finally have an opportunity to like do some stuff. Unfortunately, loads of it is on functional things like stock and fulfillment and things. So I think we're trying to really like amp up our distribution, getting it seen by more people, really pushing online, and we have a big coffee shop offer which is doing really well, so scaling that. But I think some fun films planned, some bigger. We'll finally have more than $3,000 to spend on a film, so it'll be exciting.
When's that launching? The new?
I haven't even. I've sent a garbled note to someone.
Okay, so it's coming.
That's as far as it's got as a garbled note. Yeah.
Exciting. Nice.
Thanks very much.
Thank you. Well, we love the brand. Obviously, thank you so much.
I'm glad you love it. If you told me, I'm glad you told me that now. Just end it.
Go.
We don't really like it.
It tastes like absolute.
That was great. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Nice.